Good morning. Welcome back to the Risk Management for Small Businesses series. In the previous episode, I gave a general definition of what concentration risk is, and I also touched on customer or revenue related examples of concentration risk. In this episode, I'm going to give you different supply side examples of concentration risk, then take a deep dive into how you as a small business owner can identify concentration risk in your own business. So in my experience, there are two common types of small businesses I've worked with, and they actually came to my mind as I was preparing for this particular episode. So the first example, or I would say the first type of a small business or a small business owner runs a small hardware store, and then the other one owns a spaza shop. If you're not one of any of these small business owners, just imagine that you are, free your imagination a bit. I'm sure you'll be able to make sense out of the different examples that I'm going to give you. So for the first example, you own a small hardware store, but you heavily rely on a specific supplier for most of your inventory. All right. The supplier, let's just say, they provide you with various products, ranging from, I would say, tools and paints to stuff like plumbing and electrical supplies. Now, let's suppose that this supplier unexpectedly faces a severe disruption in their operations, or the example that I like using of maybe facing their own financial difficulties. All of a sudden, you will just find yourself in a very challenging situation. You are now facing challenges with maybe restocking your inventory. You are now unable to meet the demands of your local customers. So obviously what you're going to now see is that your business will suffer significantly from this supply side concentration risk. Let's now look at the second example. So let's just assume that you run a spaza shop. So remember, I said that free your imagination. If you don't run one, just imagine that you do. So what do we have in a typical spaza shop? You are selling like a variety of everyday items. So from, let's say, groceries, toiletries, snacks, and other household essentials, right? And most of your stock is probably sourced from a single distributor, which has been, a reliable partner for the longest time. You've always told people that don't worry, whatever stuff that you don't have in your stock, you then promise them that they'll get it tomorrow, because you know that you'll be, restocking the following day. Now, similar to what I've said about, the supplier for the hardware store, maybe this distributor has their own challenges, or maybe the economy is terrible and all that stuff. Now you are not really certain whether or not you'll be able to deliver, or they will be able to deliver, the suppliers will be able to deliver the goods consistently to you. You now face the risk of having limited or no inventory at all for your local customers. So, this situation also is another situation which helps us demonstrate the supply side concentration risk, which your small business might be exposed to. So guys, I really hope that these two examples have really helped you understand what supply side concentration risk is all about. Let's now dive into how you as a small business owner can identify concentration risk for your own business. As we look at the different strategies that you can use to identify concentration risk, guys, just remember that identifying either revenue or customer side concentration risk and also the supply side concentration risk is not rocket science. It's really straightforward. And from my experience helping small businesses identify these risks, I do believe that you will be able to do the same. So how exactly do we go about it? Let's start off with the more straightforward one, which is the revenue side concentration risk. If you are really running a small business, then all it takes is just looking at your revenue, right? What I need you to do is to just check how much of it you are getting from which customers, right? So you are just going to analyze to see where the revenue is coming from and whether or not your revenue is spread amongst various customers. So if your revenue is coming from, or maybe majority of the revenue is coming from a single customer or a few customers, then you'll be exposed to concentration risk. Now for the supply side concentration risk, you have to look at your suppliers. So what you have to do is to take a look at your inventory, try to find out the suppliers which contribute most to your stock. Now, just try to ask yourself if you are heavily reliant on a single supplier for a significant portion of your products. If so, then you are exposed to supply side concentration risk. So in terms of supply side, unlike the revenue or customer side concentration risk, you could even take a step further to look at your supply history, right? If there are sometimes, let's say, if there are times that you couldn't get goods from your major suppliers or your usual suppliers, just try to find out what exactly then happened in that particular time, right? Did this really affect your revenue, or you actually then managed to run around, to other suppliers just to cover that gap and retain your customers? So I'm sure you know this, right? As a small business owner, I'm sure you know that sometimes it just takes a customer maybe 3 to 5 times of not finding what they really need from you to then make a shift or move to your competitors, right? Unless you are really cheap, unless if you're the cheapest in your market, which is something that I know it's highly unlikely when you're still a small business, because obviously you're ordering from the cheapest person and trying to retail to your local customers. So here I've discussed some of the basic things that you can do in trying to identify concentration risk in your own business. But if you would allow me to do a bit of marketing here, if you believe that you are exposed to any form of concentration risk, but maybe there are too many figures in your sales or too many figures in your supplies or inventory, that it might be difficult for you to scout through, then you can just get in touch with us today. There are several ways that we can help you manage small business risks. So thank you so much for joining us on this episode on identifying concentration risk. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe to our channel and also visit our website for more valuable resources on risk management for small businesses.